Hello and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Tim Turry. Ben Hansen is away on assignment. I always wanted to say that. I've always wanted to say that. I also have JV here.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And Ben Reeves.
Hi, everyone.
And way at the other side of the table, Jeff Marchiafava.
Yeah, we have to sit on the opposite sides.
Yeah, you got to keep us apart.
Mm-hmm.
So
I noticed you got a promotion because you're sitting in Ben Hansen's seat.
yeah, promotion. Yeah, that's what happened here. Yeah, Hansen is away right now, so I assume full hosting duties for this show.
I thought I was
host.
co-host.
You want to be co-host?
Yeah.
You don't want the
And your co-host, Jeff Marchiafava, who's actually only here for the part of the
Honorary
show.
co-host. Yeah.
That's right. So
I'll be leaving.
Well, thanks for coming, guys. We continue to be in sort of that early part of the year where there's not a ton going on, but yet there still is like new releases to talk about. Mm-hmm. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm great.
Yeah,
Doing well, no complaints.
Yeah? Okay.
Slight headache, but
Really?
I don't know.
Huh. Well, keep on
know what
sucking down the
that's-
coffee.
Yeah, I'll just keep doing that.
That's what's going to do it.
I had 3 Mountain Dews.
Really?
I'm just gonna keep doing it.
How many Mountain-
caffeine helps, right?
That's right. Do you drink more Mountain Dew or more coffee? You think when you really need to stay awake?
When I need to stay awake,
When you need to stay
When I
awake.
need to stay awake, drink more Mountain Dew probably.
Oh, great.
Honestly, because I'm not a huge fan of coffee.
No. So it's just a sort of a means to an end for you.
Yeah, pretty well. Like I said, I tend not to drink coffee for caffeine.
Okay.
Or I'll go for an energy drink like a Red Bull or something.
So you have like a professional nice thermos, but it has Mountain Dew in it. Is that-
This actually has tea in it.
What are we doing here, JV? Can we just
Yeah, you
go
guys
home?
can-
Oh yeah,
take
you guys
off
want
if
to talk
you
about
want.
video games?
Yeah.
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 Is it too much banter? Okay.
Come on.
JV, I understand that you've been playing the latest in the long-awaited follow-up to Assassin's Creed Chronicles. What was the last one? Was it?
It was China.
China.
Yeah.
Of course, the interesting thing about these games is like everyone's always said since the beginning of Assassin's Creed, since it opened it up, and it's like, well, oh man, like if they're going through any time in history and any place in the world, like where are we going to go? You know, feudal Japan. Let's go to China, and then let's go to India now. In
Right,
this
it's
case.
India, this one.
But
What's the year?
Oh, God. I can't remember. It's like the 1900s. I mean, the 1800s.
A while ago.
20
Yeah, a while ago. It doesn't do much.
A while
with
ago,
it.
AD.
But JV, the thing is,
A while ago.
is that even though we finally like went to one of the more interesting times in history and something that fans have been excited about, the last Chronicles game was not that great.
See, I think I'm actually in the minority who really liked it. Like, I don't think it was
Oh.
perfect or anything, or it wasn't even really exciting, but I enjoyed it. It was definitely derivative. It's a Mark of the Ninja ripoff. Like,
Really
that's what
talking
it is.
it up here.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I was expecting to enjoy the new one. You know, just be like, okay, this is fine. This is a good way to kill 6 hours.
Yeah.
But it's not even like that.
So you liked China.
Yeah, I like
but,
China.
But India is if people were on the fence about that, or you were kind of like making some apologies for it. You're like, it's all right. It's not amazing. India's even a click below that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's because, like, the control scheme for these games is even worse than, like, the main series. Like, because you'll come across, like, a section where, you know...
You don't like the controls for the main series?
No, they're fine. I mean, they're kind of wobbly and
They can be
finicky.
wonky sometimes.
Yeah.
Which I was happy to hear you say, but
Yeah.
you're saying that these are even more
Oh, yeah,
clumsy.
these are worse.
Okay.
Like, you'll come to, like, an alcove that you want to dive into, but there's also, like, another action tied to the stick that you can do if you, like, put it northwest instead of north, and then he'll do that and just jump into, like, a crowd of enemies, and then you're dead. So it's just kind of ridiculous.
Okay.
And then there are time trials for this game, so you're, like, trailing enemies and running through the stages, basically, and the controls just don't support that well.
That doesn't sound, because from when I played through the China episode, and I feel like that was mostly just about sneaking around dudes, quiet takedowns. Like, is there more variety to what you're doing?
Yeah, there's more variety, but the problem is it's not implemented well.
Okay.
All right, so like the time trial stuff. Also, you have to go and find items so you can just pass through certain areas, you know, as like a guard or something disguised, but those are kind of boring. And there are tons of technical problems. Like, this is a 6-hour game that was probably stretched out to 9 hours for me just because of, like, the bevy of technical issues I ran into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah,
That's
it was
sad
not
because
fun.
You're a big Assassin's Creed fan.
I am, and I'm a huge Mark of the Ninja fan.
Right.
So, like, this sounded up my alley, but then when China came out, I was like, maybe I'll pass. I'll kind of wait. see if the next one gets better, and then
Okay.
maybe I'll come back to it. And it sounds like I might never have a reason to play these games.
No,
Which is disappointing because I really like the concept. Of,
Yeah, I
like,
wanna-
taking 2D.
You should at
stealth.
least, dip your toes in the water and try out that first Chronicles episode because I just want to hear what you'd have to say, like about it, especially being a big Mark and the Ninja fan and stuff,
Yeah.
just to see how far from the mark it misses.
Well done. It's funny though because I think Brian Vore played that first one, and you're sitting in Brian Vore's old desk.
Yeah.
So I guess that's like the
curse
desk.
pass.
Yeah,
that's the
I
desk for
noticed
those
when
games.
I got that review assigned to me, I was like, oh, the guy replaced to China. So
That's right. We assign reviews by where you sit
Yeah.
at Game Informer.
Yeah.
It's a little known
Totally.
fact.
It's unfortunate that Jeffem sat in the Dance Dance Revolution desk. But
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
no.
Well, it's a standing desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fortunate that there haven't been a lot of Dance Dance games.
JB, are you a big Assassin's Creed guy?
it just depends. I
On
love
whether the game's good or not?
it depends on what the game's where it's set,
Okay.
and all that. Like I love the pirate one.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Yeah, Black Flag. That's probably my favorite one. I really like Syndicate.
Yeah. Me
I like
too.
how it just leans into sort of the Saturday morning cartoon vibe that that series has always kind of been heading in the direction of.
What Saturday morning cartoon did you watch where someone got just murdered and
Murdered with a
beaten
cane.
mercilessly with a cane?
But it's just
That
sort
was
of
He-Man, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was DuckTales. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uncle
that's
Scrooge.
Yeah.
it's just sort of frantic and all over the place,
Yeah.
very kinetic in comparison to like Assassin's Creed 3, which is sort of sloggy in terms of movement and how the story progresses. It's just very different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 and then obviously Unity were big missteps and stuff. And yeah, Syndicate got me back on board too.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
I'm
it a
excited for the possibility that they might be taking a year off because I feel that game needs that series needs a little bit of break.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
be
Like
nice.
the Tomb Raider reboot was in 2013, right?
Yes.
From
Right.
Crystal Dynamics, and like I was excited for Rise of the Tomb Raider. Like I liked the reboot all right. I thought it was a good game, a lot of promise there. And then as Rise of the Tomb Raider, as we saw more of that and we got closer to the release date, I started getting super excited.
Yeah.
And I realized like, well, it's not like I was so obsessed with the first one, but what has happened here? It's like, oh, well, there was a year to create, some absence.
Oh, yeah.
To make the heart grow fonder there.
Or think about like every time a new GTA comes out, they take such a long break, but it's always an amazing game. So there's reason to be super excited about it.
I always think of that 30 Rock joke where Liz Lemon is dating whatever, just some sort of trash human guy. He's just like he's kind of a dirtbag. And he talks about like his
Beaver
philosophy
King?
with women where he's just like, yeah, it's like my dog here, like my golden retriever. And like, she likes to lick my feet a lot. And sometimes she stops licking my feet. So then I hide my feet underneath the rug and then she wonders where they are, and then when I bust them back out again, she licks my feet again. And that's more developers and publishers should take note of that throwaway joke from 30 Rock.
That's a dark look into Tim's life.
Did I watch 30 Rock?
But that's how you think of things.
I wonder if you can go
It's
too
always
far.
with the foot licking analogies with you, Tim. God.
He's always asking us to lick your feet.
It's true.
Good grief. Yeah, all right, we get your feet, Tim. No, but I was gonna say, like, do you think you can go
Yeah,
too
you get
far?
my feet. Yeah, right.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Because Disney does the same thing with like movies. They're like, we're gonna put it in the
Right,
vault.
the vault.
Yeah, yeah. And I almost sometimes feel like, I just want to, like when the Star Wars movie, the recent one, Force Unleashed, came out. I wanted to watch all the old ones.
Force
Awakens.
Awakens. Force Unleashed was
I
the
do that every
video
time.
game by LucasArts. It's all right.
We've already blown it.
Yeah,
Let's
it's,
just start
it's
this
okay. No one's
podcast
been
over.
talking about The Force Awakens, so it's okay to
Yeah.
forget what that movie's called.
Well, now there's
Who knows? I haven't even seen it yet.
there continue to be
It's not true.
rumors and speculation that they're going to release the unedited versions. And given the hubbub around like the unofficial despecialized editions, like if Sony does anything besides, if Disney does anything besides just dangle those above everyone's heads, they're going to draw that out.
But my point was, I couldn't find it to rent anywhere. I had to go buy it, which could be worse, I guess. But it just seems they're so like protective of things,
Right.
Yeah.
Releasing them out so that you really, really have to buy them when they
Yes.
come out. You know what I mean?
That is a little different, though, because that's like releasing something new versus something that you've liked and you just want to watch again and you can't find access to it.
Speaking of finding
probably right,
access
Justin. It's a
on
little bit
things,
different.
if you are someone who wanted to play the Banner Saga when it released, now you can access it on more platforms.
That's
And
right.
Reeves, you were a big fan of Banner Saga.
I feel like I've been beating this drum for a while now. And I actually looked up the release date was January 14th, I believe, 2 years ago. So we're almost day and date, like 2 years from the original release,
right.
which is kind of fun. But anyway, yeah, that game is amazing. If you've ever seen a screenshot, you know it looks good. 'Cause
Yeah.
it has this gorgeous Sleeping Beauty inspired art design. And the gameplay is also a lot of fun. It has we actually just put up a test chamber, me and Reiner.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think, went up. So you can go and there's a little bit of snapshot of the combat in there.
Yeah.
But the combat is a nice, deep strategy experience. And then the story is also really rich and like deep sort of political intrigue kind of thing.
Like
So-
Game of Thronesy, more Game of Thronesy than like it's like
little
Viking based,
bit,
right? So it's
yeah.
a Nordic kind of tale.
It's Viking based. There's these creatures called varls, which are like giant Viking looking dudes because they have the horns
Nice.
and giant beards, but they're like twice the size of normal people.
Okay.
And then you have humans, and then you have these like weird dredge looking things, which are the stone golem monsters that you're fighting.
These
So
are all
it's-
factions that you fight within the game. Like you might fight the dredges or the humans or
yes.
Okay, who do
Or
you play
Varl.
as?
You play as a group of humans and Varl.
Okay.
So they're not all bad. And the basic premise is you're just trying to survive. The whole thing has an Oregon Trail sort of vibe to it where you're traveling across this giant map and you have certain number of clansmen that you start out with and a certain number of food. And you slowly, that supply is slowly ticking away and you're trying to collect as much as you can. But the game forces you into decisions where you have to sort of sacrifice food or people sometimes. And it's I want to say it's impossible. It's probably not impossible. It felt impossible when you're playing it to like not lose anybody.
I mean, it reminds me a little bit of a game that came later, which is like this War of Mine, where it's just you're presented with just no win situations. You just have to make hard decisions. With gameplay wise, though, what do you feel like it's most akin to if people needed sort of an anchor point for reference?
Good. Well, I mentioned the Oregon Trail, but that's just like one aspect of
Right,
it.
right.
Then there's the like top-down strategy map, which is I want to say XCOM, but that's not a perfect
Is it that view?
one-to-one. It's just all top-down. So maybe
Okay.
something like what's a more modern or I want to say it's Shining Force, but that's not super modern.
What about Fire Emblem? It
Yeah,
looks a little
maybe
bit
Fire Emblem.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So Fire Emblem.
JV to the rescue.
There you go. Have you played it,
Useful.
JV?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I reviewed it when it came out originally and really dug it.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Like I said, beating the drum for years, and I know Dan Tack's on my side, but Dan Tack can be very subdued sometimes with his enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I don't think people were picking up on it. I know Kim and Reiner both played it and they
Yeah.
loved it. So
it's-
now that it's on console, I'm actually pretty excited because some people, especially in this office, are kind of like hesitant to play PC games. So I'm excited for more people to get it and check it out.
It's I don't know if it's a hesitance. I don't know if everyone has a
It's not having
reliable
a
rig.
computer. Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people just are inferior.
Hey, listen, it's my computer's across the room. I don't have a remote control for it, buddy. But is it just Xbox One or also PS4?
Xbox and PS4.
Okay, that's great. Which is awesome.
And supposedly they made this announcement that they were canceling the Vita version, and then like a week later they're like, actually we're still going to do this. So a Vita version might still be on the way.
Do you think it would suited well for Vita?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I like just because the art is gorgeous. I like it on a bigger screen.
Yeah.
But if you're traveling, it's a great travel game.
How many hours do you think you poured into it?
Man, I want to say, I mean, it's not super long, like 12 to 15.
For a strategy game, it can be all over the place.
It's the first part of a planned trilogy.
oh,
So the
one of those.
story kind of has a bit of a cliffhanger. And there are choices you make throughout the game that they say are going to feed into sort of Mass Effect style the rest of the game.
Good timing on their part, getting that out again in front of XCOM 2. You know what I mean? Because I feel like once XCOM 2 is out, like the conversation's just going to be like,
It's like, that's all anybody's going to be playing.
yeah, as far as strategy
At least
goes.
strategy-wise, for sure.
But, if people only own consoles and they want to
Yeah.
play a strategy game, they're not going to have a choice with XCOM 2. Like, it's only PC.
And it sets you up pretty well for Banner Saga 2 might still be coming out this year. So
Yeah.
you can get going and kind of catch up on the story.
Maybe that's what they're ramping up for. I wonder if after that, for a follow-up, if they would go for all platforms as well, for like a unified launch, if they would tighten up that gap between PC and console release.
I'm kind of assuming that's what they're going to do
Yeah.
just because like 2-year wait to port over is kind of ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, but that art style is awesome.
It
so if you haven't seen that game in motion, you should definitely check it out. But
It's a good game. It's a good game. The one knock I say is there's quite a bit of reading. The story, like I said, is really good, but there's not a lot of voiceover. There's
Okay.
a little bit at the beginning, but then you're just reading text.
Ben,
read. Yeah, I had to have Jeffem come over and read all the
I
text
did,
for me.
yeah.
oh, you
Yeah.
did, Jeff. That was so nice of you.
So he might do the same for you.
I did the voices. Yeah.
So besides the Banner Saga and Assassin's Creed India, Chronicles India, the other release of the week basically is That Dragon Cancer. which is an indie game that we've known about for a while and known that is pretty heavy subject of a family dealing with their loss of like a 12-month-old
5-year-old
child. Where does the story pick up?
Well, so that's the thing. It's not so much a like focused narrative that like walks you through the whole thing as it is a grouping of kind of these vignettes, which are basically based on different memories. And so it kind of goes in, the general arc of this child's illness. But I'm hesitant to even call it like a story
right.
so much as it is just kind of being able to, go into and interact with the memories that these parents have
right.
Of their child Joel.
And this is a true story.
Yes.
I don't know if people like watching or listening know about this, but yeah, it's a true story. And sort of these parents, from what I understand, started developing this game as a way to sort of cope and come to terms with like a terrible tragedy in their family. Jeff, did this game make you feel super bad? Like, did you feel super sad while playing this? Because I see this game on the surface, and like I like watching movies to make me feel things. I like reading books to make me feel things, and feeling a broader range of emotions from from video games, which I don't usually go out of my way for that sort of experience. But like, what did it get you?
Yeah, it's kind of soul crushing.
Yeah,
to play through that. Definitely, I mean. The whole situation and the idea of having a child that's dying of a terminal illness that you can't do anything about is the kind of thing that you really just don't even want to think about because because you're helpless. And this game, puts you in that situation and forces you to think about those kind of things. And so it is a very hard game. We decided not to review it. I wrote up some impressions and some of my thoughts about it because of that. And I have reviewed, games that are very hard to classify and even consider games, like the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide were like that. And those have always been very easy to say, you know what, you should try this out because, it may not be a traditional game and it might not have, the kind of gameplay that you expect, but it's a fun thing.
It's subversive or funny or insightful.
It's very interesting and it's a very unique experience. And this one is certainly a very unique experience, but it's a hell of a lot harder to, recommend to someone to, put them in this situation and have them think about these things that there are no good answers to.
I mean, do you feel like it would be akin to trying to recommend to someone like a super sad documentary or something like that, or a TV series or a movie or something that's based on something that's real or is even using, real people in it and telling a real story that is tragic? If someone, to use the word enjoy, feels weird in this, but if someone appreciates those kinds of, film or shows or something like that, I mean, do you feel like there's a crossover for someone who just wants to experience that kind of story?
To some extent, I'd say, but again, when I think about documentaries about that, I think they're typically a more cohesive kind of narrative that they're walking you through, and this one I don't feel has the same kind of beginning, middle, and conclusion that's going to be satisfying in that kind of way. So it is a very tough one to try and recommend and figure out. I don't know who I would sit down and say, you should play this.
Right. Yeah, when I read Jeffem's impressions of the game and stuff, and I guess I'm personally curious just because it seems so unlike anything that I've ever, quote unquote, played before, and that sort of autobiographical nature to it, what is it? The follow up to the Stanley Parable. I haven't played Beginner's Guide. In that vein of being autobiographical in a way, or biographical even. But how long did you say it was?
2 hours.
About 2 hours, which isn't that crazy. But so you just kind of feel like you're flitting in and out of memories and sort of bearing witness to them. Okay.
And a lot of it is about the parents trying to cope as well, and the problems that it creates between them, and just trying to come to grips with it.
As much as it was like an experience that they wanted to sort of share with other people. From what I've read, it sounds like it was as much like sort of a coping thing for them. They sort of like had to make this thing to sort of deal with the experiences they had, which I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm impressed with the fact that they did that because it's kind of an impressive feat to just whatever the end product, but like sort of put yourself out there and expose yourself to that degree.
I read an interview. I can't remember where it was, but the wife Amy had said that I think it was Amy. It might have been Ryan, the husband, but they had said that maybe at the end of the day, they have really just kind of created this for themselves, and they would be okay with that,
right?
And that would be enough. And that's kind of the impression that I walked away from it with. Like it's great that they have this. I'm sure there are some people who, like you said, they want to have a very wide range of experiences, and they will get a lot out of this, and that's great for them. But it is hard to sit in the chair of someone who's trying to recommend it and telling someone that they should go play this.
Yeah, right. Obviously you see, like, I think the main image, to give people a sense of this, like, I think the main image that gets floated around is like a father holding a baby in his hands hooked up to chemo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's such a striking image too.
Like, it is. Does that sort of striking imagery, and I think in that case, like the IV is like
it's like glowing.
It's like a radioactive green. Like,
there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of kind of metaphors that you play through that do help you kind of put you in the mindset and help you process what the parents were feeling throughout so it's a very artistic game.
It's interesting because like this game, I've seen like Wired articles on it, and I've seen like I think Radiolab did a thing on it. Like, it's just interesting how this game in particular, not being a game and being so like sort of interestingly tied to this personal experience, sort of like branched out to a wider audience, you could say.
I'm fairly certain there's also a film documentary about the creation of this.
So much stuff that's out there about this game. So I'm almost like curious to see how many people play it and like what kind of audience it reaches.
Yeah, me too. It's super untraditional, and I guess I respect it for that. But I'll have to check it out. I'll have to prepare myself because it does sound like it could be a kick to the gut, really. Wow. Well, what did you play it on?
PC.
It's just PC only.
Yeah, it was coming out to Ouya.
Wasn't it an Ouya
for a while?
game?
For a while, it was in Ouya exclusive, but they kind of bought themselves.
Come get some.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yes.
That terrible. That was a tweet, wasn't it, JV? Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
No, it was more than a tweet. It was like their brand thing. It was like, come get some.
It was like
all caps.
Yeah, it was like that Dragon Cancer Ouya exclusive. Come get some.
Wait, what?
Just they're trying to promote like an Ouya exclusive.
Who was Ouya?
Ouya.
Yeah.
They decided to do like a ad campaign that was ripped straight from the extreme 90s.
It was
like
quite,
that was their thing.
Like Duke Nukem started working as their PR guy.
And I think it might be a slightly different experience than Duke Nukem. But
wrong tone. Wrong match for that game.
Speaking of tonal shifts, I continue to play Earthbound. That is basically like in this absence of huge new releases, I'm still playing Earthbound, and I'm making steady progress through that. I think I'm just on my way to the desert area after. What is it? Threep is the creepy. I fought some belch monster or something. It continues to be a charming little game.
I still haven't played that one, but every time you talk about it, I'm like, I feel like I should go back and play it. Like, I'm excited to go back and play it. I don't know when I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
but it's on my list.
I've tried to play that game about 4 times.
Really? How far do you get?
I only ever get past like the first bit with the neighborhood and the asteroid and the annoying neighbor's kid. What is the
Porky.
name? Porky, yeah. And I always feeling bad for that kid and the weird telephone calls.
Oh, I love the telephone calls. You know what's another amazing thing about that game is if you don't like every time you go into a store and there's a phone. And you dial up. There's a couple things. You can dial pizza delivery service if you just want them to bring a pizza to you for health recovery.
Sure.
Escargot, which is like they'll come and deliver your items to you or take items out of your inventory to create space, which is awesome. You can call your dad to save, or you have to call your mom occasionally. Otherwise, you get homesick, which is a status effect that affects you in battle.
That's
like
cool.
Homesickness, which is just like
weird.
I don't know. The game is filled with like charming little things like that that I adore.
Replaying or playing Undertale has made me want to go back and check out Earthbound.
That was exactly what it is. And if you liked Undertale and never got around to Earthbound, which is like the exact situation that I am in, that has been perfect so far.
Okay.
JV, you've been playing anything that's not like a current release, like cleanup from last year?
Yeah. I've been playing D4 at my desk actually when I've had a couple of minutes.
What is it? Something
Dark Dreams Don't Die or something.
The
Sweary's game.
Was that 2 years ago? It wasn't that long ago, right?
It was. I don't think it was a launch title for the Xbox One, but it was shortly afterward, maybe March.
Yeah, a Kinect title, right?
After that, yeah. And it's a Sweary game.
How are you feeling about it? Like, is it funny? Is it quirky? Like, is it interesting? Like, what do you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
What's the last thing you did in that game?
Okay, the last thing I did in that game was mock some weird dude with a haircut. He has like a giant pyramid haircut, and he also has a model with him, or a mannequin with him, that's like his partner who has the same haircut. And so, like, I was just kind of a dick to them, and then
that's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, which I mean, that's generally the main character's like sort of alignment.
An asshat.
He's just kind of a prick to everybody.
Okay, that
sounds justified in that case.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, these guys are jerks.
You couldn't. I didn't know what you were going to describe, but you couldn't have made up a more like Sweary pseudo Twin Peaks kind of thing.
Yeah,
that sounded more convincing.
And then the flight attendant is clearly like sort of. He looks a little bit like BJ from Wolfenstein. He's just massive and has blue eyes and blonde hair, and he's inhaling a drug through an inhaler, and it's like red mist or something. It's called Real Blood, and so it keeps doing this constant slow mo shot of him like looking up, his eyes like drugged out.
Sounds like Dread a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Dread, that drug from Dread.
Yeah,
and it's just. Okay, Sweary, take me on this journey. Let's go.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Now you get me more curious about it. Like, they've never even confirmed the second episode of that, have they? It seems like it's kind of in limbo.
No, he got sick, and I think they haven't said anything about that since before he got sick.
Sweary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he took a break or whatnot.
He did, yeah. I remember him. He's pretty active on social media, but hopefully
he likes to tweet a lot.
Yeah.
Hopefully he recovers and continue making weird, cool games.
Yeah, because I'm not anywhere near done with this game, but I definitely want to see more of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Reese, what are you cranking on outside of games for work?
Yeah, I have a couple things I've been playing. I've been playing watching Dan Tech because I'm sitting right next to Dan Tech.
That's a game you play?
Yeah.
Just sort of.
He's really good at it.
I bet going with Jeff Quirk on whether or not.
You should rearrange your desk so that it faces Tack.
You think so?
Yeah. And take away your computer monitor.
Anyway, but yeah, so Dan Tack's been playing a lot of Darkest Dungeon because he's reviewing it, and that got me really into wanting to play that game again because I had started it back when it first came out for beta.
It's approaching,
and now
like
it's
final
like
release.
Yeah, it's like later this month it'll be out, and so I assume when it comes out, well, you guys will have Dan Tack on again to talk about the game, but it's a lot of fun, and if you like games that are hard. Play it. But also if you don't, like I don't love games that are hard, I'm still loving it because it's a sort of interesting like combat where you have like your 4 guys lined up in a row and you have
it's like 4 adventurers going into a Lovecraftian dungeon, right? Is that kind of the concept?
The basic combat is like you're this caretaker of this estate and there's this like Lovecraftian horror that's sort of breaking through. Right. And so you're collecting these heroes to go in and try to fight back the evils before they all go mad, but they slowly do go mad throughout the process.
Help that.
Yeah, I mean, the darker it gets, you're exposed to these horrors, and you have the sanity meter, and all your heroes, like, if they fill up that sanity meter, they might develop a new sort of like mental condition.
Oh boy,
that affects their stats.
Could help them, could hurt them.
Yeah, there's some good ones too, actually, and then there's some bad ones, and then there's also sicknesses which you can debilitate you.
Okay,
and you can upgrade their weapons, you can upgrade their abilities. They all have different abilities. And there's quite a variety of different kinds of heroes. There's the Crusader, which is super beefy, like attack dude. There's crossbow dudes. There's plague doctors, which throw plague vials at people and blight them. So it's like a recurring damage. So I like the mix of characters. And then the combat itself is actually fun because all your dudes are lined up in a row. And depending on what position they are in, like if they're in the front of the line, they can do certain attacks. Whereas if they're in the back of the line, they might have different attacks open to them. And some heroes do better in the front row. And some other characters might do better in the back row. So it's kind of this interesting mix of like trying to keep your heroes in that order because they can get shaken up periodically. And then just managing their sanity because as they get attacked and as they see these horrors, that continues to go up. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. It is permadeath, so if like one of your heroes dies, you can't get him back, and you can invest a lot of time in some of these guys.
How long have you played?
Very frustrating
only to have it all fall apart. Like, is it? Can you play for like a half hour and then wipe and then you start again? Like, is it like what is the flow to it?
Well, there's a certain level of you can have a caravan full of dudes. Like right now, I have 15 guys.
Okay.
And you send 4 out each round, so you can go into these dungeons, and dungeons can take anywhere from like maybe 10 minutes to 40 minutes.
Okay.
This is probably the longest one I've done so far. And you can completely wipe. You'd lose all 4 guys, but you'd still have your caravan of other guys. And you can recruit guys each new turn too. So, I mean, you never lose everything. You also collect the gear you get from these missions, and you can upgrade your shops and other things. So there's that stuff, which has a permanent...
There's a meta layer of progression.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I like, because a lot of... It does have roguelike elements, but some elements of roguelike that you totally lose everything. I don't like that.
I find I need that for like games like Rogue Legacy, which I adored. Like, if there wasn't that meta layer of progression that went between characters and attempts, I like Binding of Isaac or something like that. I have a harder time getting into those.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, because I always feel like even if I get wiped, I don't lose all my progress.
Right.
Anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's in beta right now, but it'll be officially out in like a couple weeks or something. So I recommend checking it out.
Makes me feel like I need to get back into Galaxy and give that another go. Just thinking about roguelikes and stuff and like super hard games.
Galaxy is one of those games that I feel like people need to sort of play a little bit before they really understand.
Mm-hmm.
If all you did was play through that first season, I don't think you really got the idea of what the game's about.
Right. That's too bad.
But it's a lot of fun.
I mean to get back to it. So
you should. It's fun.
Jeff, how about you?
I've been playing another really weird PC indie game that's also hard to recommend, but for completely different reasons.
Okay.
The name is TIS 100, and which is basically the name. The whole idea of the game is you have inherited this super old computer, and so like the first thing that the game asks you to do is print out like an actual computer manual for it.
Like you have to do that in real life.
Yeah, the whole game it's a programming puzzle game, and so you have to write lines of code to solve. Well, it's kind of like the made up code, but yes, you are typing in like actual commands, kind of like an old DOS computer that you would type in commands. And so you print out your little manual, and you're trying to go through and fix, because it was your uncle's computer, so you're trying to fix his like broken code and solve the mystery of what happened to him. And so it kind of explains to you how you have to write this code, and then it gives you puzzles for, like numbers. It gives you like a random list. I know this is so nerdy and completely impossible,
but in the best way.
Yeah, it gives you a list of numbers that come in, and you have to process them in whatever way it says. So like it will say like it will give you 2 numbers, and you have to figure out which one is the bigger one, where the computer has to figure out which one is the bigger one and then output that one. And so you have to write the code to bring the number in and how to process it with very few commands, and then spit them out in the correct order. And once it does that, then it will actually run through. And
you're playing this for fun?
I am.
Where'd you hear about this?
I don't know why. I had actually played a couple other like coding puzzle games that were kind of interesting. They are.
You don't talk about this stuff.
I don't know.
How old is this game? Is it?
It came out last year. Okay. I actually I gave it the 10 spot on my personal top 10 list.
Oh, you did? It's just squeaked on there.
I remember seeing that.
I squeaked it
like,
in.
What is that?
Yeah, because it is, in terms of puzzle games, it is one, and the other coding games that I've played like this, they are totally unique in you will get a new problem and you will think, I have no idea how to solve that, and I will never figure it out. And then you work through it and fail, and then you figure it out and you feel like a complete genius. And then you go on to the next problem, and it's like, okay, I have no idea how I'm ever going to be able to do this.
How are you interacting with the instruction manual? Like
the instruction manual is written like it's an old instruction manual from the 70s telling you, okay, like these are the commands that you have. This is how you can use them. Refer to this page. And what's kind of it has kind of like this meta narrative that you take part in, because you're playing this character who has this old cryptic computer that he's trying to figure out, and you're literally doing that as you're flipping through the manual, being like,
How many pages
What the hell is this referencing to? Well, only like 20 pages or something,
not bad,
but it's
still
Okay.
It'd be great if you could print it out on like a dot matrix printer or something and have that.
That'd be
extra
cool.
element to it.
yeah.
I love any game that has a sort of like physical kind of component to it where you have to like interact with something in the real world. Like I know that Snatcher had it so that you'd play Snatcher and you'd be using the gamepad, but then there'd be parts where you'd have to use a light gun. So you actually had to in the real world like go and grab that and then switch to that part, and you wouldn't know it would be coming. I love the idea that you have to be like flipping through this manual or something. I think it's a really cool novelty.
It is a way nerdier version of that, but yes,
Okay.
yeah, you're kind of switching through.
Right, not shooting replicants or whatever.
No.
Sorry, what are they called? What are they called in Snatcher? It's something.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It's
if it's not replicants.
It's some other total ripoff. But regardless, do you ever feel like at a certain point? Oh, my one important question is there like, do you just see a computer screen, or do you see like a 1970s background with like wood paneling?
No, it is just like a DOS computer screen, and like your mouse is like the actual like full rectangle that you kind
that's
of
funny.
move around, and yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
At a certain point, are you sitting there and you're like, gosh, I should just learn JavaScript or something like that? Like
like I'm obviously don't know much about programming, but the little that I do know actually, I mean, it applies to these kind of games.
Okay.
And you can tell I've had to go online to like look up answers to some of these problems, and no surprise, the coders are the ones who are the best at these kind of games. Yeah.
I can't believe there's more than. Are they all made by the same people?
No, there are a couple different types of these kind
How
of
did you
games.
ever hear about this game?
Like I said, I played one random mobile game that was called Rebazel, where you're kind of programming. That one's much more of a traditional. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Sounds like a hocus pocus word.
Look,
Harry Potter spells.
This was years ago when Android was just starting up, so there weren't that many games. But in that one, you kind of have to program, like a little character to move through kind of like these grid-based puzzles by giving it different lines of codes, and it was the same kind of situation where it's like, that doesn't make sense. I don't have enough spaces, to like put in all the arrows for that, and then when you figure it out, you feel like a genius. So I just did a search off of that and looked for coding puzzles on Steam, and this one was super recommended.
What's the next step for this? Are you just gonna go program your own game?
I think there will be a game that makes you program your own games, and then after that, you'll just make your own games.
That's it. They just pile up Uncharted 5 right there. Yep. When you were playing this at home, does your wife just sort of think you're doing real work?
No, I probably could have tricked her with that. But every now and then, I would solve one of these puzzles, and it would feel so awesome. I'd be like, honey, look at this. And it will just be this like rows of numbers going through. And she's like,
all work and no play. Make Jack a dull butt.
Good job.
My novel, sweetie. Oh, that's
Start
great.
putting lipstick on at that point.
No. All right. Thanks for that, Reeves. Well, I guess unless you guys are playing anything else, is there any other little things you wanted to squeak in there before we move on to emails?
I don't know if it's worth talking about, but I did go back and started playing Bully again
awesome.
for
Yeah.
the first time, if that makes sense. I had started it up a long time ago and never finished it, and now I'm like halfway through the school year. I'm like around Christmas time.
That's great.
I assume that's halfway through, but it's been more fun than I had the first time I played with it. I don't know if I was in the mood or what, but this is sort of classic GTA style open world game.
Maybe he's just more of a bully now.
Yeah, well, shut up, Jeffem.
For those not watching on YouTube, Ben started physically harming Jeffem.
Why wouldn't they be watching on YouTube?
I don't know. They might be listening on iTunes. Are you okay,
You
Jeffem?
should have said iTunes instead of YouTube.
Oh, sorry about
Who's
that.
the bully?
If you're listening on YouTube and you don't have this in frame, you should rewind by 40 seconds and see Ben Reeves shove Jeffem a little.
Yeah, it was
Totally worth it.
Very dramatic.
It was very
Anyway,
uncomfortable.
How is the gameplay aging? Like, I know that there's a lot of mini games, like your classroom, all your classes are actually mini games. Like, does that stuff seem...
I really like that in concept, and I ended up liking about half of the mini games.
Okay.
A fair amount, and then the other half are kind of very frustrating. Especially shop class. There's something about like the timing of that one where
Is it quick time events or what?
it's quick time events, and if you don't, you almost have to like start it before the prompt comes up.
Weird.
So it's pretty frustrating. So you have to like memorize what's going to happen and then do it. But I don't know, some of them, the other ones are kind of fun. Like there's a photography or art one where you're like blocking out images and revealing the image below, and the gameplay itself is very old school because it was actually a PS2 game originally.
It's not like
And then came
clumsy
out on
fist
360.
fights, right?
Yeah, it's basically just mash the button. You can grab guys, mash the button, and attack. Like it's wandering through a world collecting rubber bands and stuff, and that's fun. And I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
the whole is greater than the sum of its parts for sure.
Humor is generally pretty good. Like it's amusing, sarcasm,
Good characters.
Nothing sort of laugh out loud, but something will happen. I'll be like, that's pretty funny.
What's going on in the story right now?
Well, I'm helping Santa Claus out, so
Okay.
I had to go beat up an actual mall Santa and like destroy his set. So that this is basically a hobo Santa wandering through the streets, and he's like, "Hey kid, like come help me out," and he's got a bottle of rum in his hand, and
That sounds perfect.
he pays me $5 to go beat up this other Santa, and then set up a Santa area for him so he can take pictures with kids.
Oh, and make money.
And make money, yeah.
That, you know what? Some of like when I have my memories of that game, when I think back on it, I like the school stuff. All right, like I think it's one of the coolest games, especially in concept and execution. But like the feeling of finally getting off campus and biking around, and like the sensation of like the larger world and breaking the rules and being somewhere where you shouldn't be, was like it's really stuck with me. Whether it was like going to the biking through the city and dodging traffic and going to like, I feel like I remember going into just like some Dungeness comic book store or something like that.
Yeah. I just did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Or going to the beach and discovering like some beach house and it's like your second save and it's just like this little clubhouse that no one knows about.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of little, like, I don't know, that those sort of adventures, those mini adventures, like really have stuck with me.
You know what kind of did it for me too is like over the holiday break, I went and visited my sister, and her husband's going to Princeton right now. So I was at Princeton.
Oh, wow.
And just out of that like East Coast, like
Ivy League,
old money Ivy League school setting, like got me in the mood for, I was like, you know what? I never finished Bully. I should go back and play that. So I'm like, I'm just kind of like scratching a weird itch that I didn't know I had.
Fantasizing beating up your sister's boyfriend.
And once you beat the game, you can actually print out a diploma. So you will
great. For Bulworth Academy.
Finally have your middle school. Is it middle school?
I got the impression it was high school, but maybe
it's really vague.
Yeah, it's not really clear.
And then it's just like where they would have modern cliques, like here's your jocks, here's your nerds, and then like where there would probably be like druggies or something in a real school or something like that, or like burnouts or whatever. It's just greasers.
Yeah,
it's just like
surprised they didn't just go for it.
Yeah, I know it's a Rockstar, right? But yeah, that's an awesome game. Amazing music in that game. And speaking of music. Stay tuned for after our email section where we answer a bunch of emails. We are going to be coming back with a bunch of we're going to be choosing two of our favorite either current or all-time video game music tracks and kind of talking about those. And we'll be swapping out Jeff Markifava for Brian Shea.
Hell, I'll do that
at that point. So
Jeff was like, no way.
But Jeff is sticking around for the email part. So stay tuned for emails. Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We have a bunch of emails here which were sent to us by you, our lovely viewers or listeners. If you have something that you want us to answer or something to spark conversation or debate, or you have some weird little correction you want to send us that's interesting, it's podcast@gameinformer.com. And then every week we choose our favorite email and give a little prize. We send out a little prize to the email of the week. We'll see what it is this week. I don't know.
You say that very suspiciously.
I don't know.
I don't know that people want the prize.
I haven't been sending out anything. That's the secret. Yeah,
surprise!
Here's your surprise.
Good vibes. Speaking of good vibes, this is the first emails from Andrew. Hey guys, love the show and all the replays. This is the first time I've sent an email in, and I hope this question hasn't been asked yet. Across your careers of playing games, has one or multiple games ever sucker punched you something fierce and made you cry? I'm a 26-year-old dude and not afraid to admit, but the most recent game to get me was the intro to The Last of Us. It's happened multiple times, and it's just so damn heavy. I love it. The first, though, was playing Mega Man X for the first time at the ripe age of 6. Watching Zero die was just too much for me. Sorry about the 20-plus year spoiler, but it was some heavy stuff. Hope to hear your answers. Keep up the weekly awesomeness, Andrew. So I can start.
Yeah, go for it.
I think the first game for me was like to really, really feel it was like the conclusion to The Walking Dead season 1. And I think it had to do with like all the good characters and the build up and the amount of time that you'd spent with them. But the way that ended for me was probably the first time that I actually had like a tear moved from my eye down my face. Which I guess you could call crying. I guess that's literally the definition of crying. And I was surprised. It's not like when that's happening, I'm like, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going through some metamorphosis. Like, finally, a video game's making me cry. Yes, like, and urging on the tears or something like that, so I can tweet about it or something. It's not like that. It took me totally off guard. And
what a baby.
It's how I felt, Jeff.
Yeah. It's how I felt.
That's how
Unbelievable.
I felt. Anyway, it was very sad. And yes, Last of Us was a good example of something like that.
Mine was actually The Walking Dead too.
Oh, really?
Mine was too.
Yeah?
Wow.
Like, I'm assuming we're all talking about the same part in the shop.
Room full of babies.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't cry, but that's the closest I've ever come to crying in a game.
And you think about that game versus something like The Last of Us, which I think are two of the more common examples of this. And The Last of Us, just like tone-wise, is like, it's way grittier. The visuals are way more grounded. I think those characters in some way are less of caricatures across the board, whereas there's more like caricatures and stuff in The Walking Dead, like ridiculous characters, whether it's Kenny or someone else. But I was just totally taken off guard by that. Is there anything besides Last of Us or Walking Dead you feel that stands out for you guys?
Probably some of the deaths in Mass Effect 3, I'd say. Hit pretty hard.
Morden died for me in a really jarring, unexpected way, and it had to do with him trying to make good for the genophage.
You like that character a fair amount too.
I really liked Morden, and I didn't have a lot of characters. I didn't lose a lot of characters at the end of Mass Effect 2 during the suicide mission, and so I was left with a lot of my favorites playing their roles they were supposed to. Right, those roles were written for them in Mass Effect 3. Even if they died, you'd have some placeholder of the same race or something doing it.
Morden's replacement is ridiculous.
Some not Morden or not Rex or whoever it is. And what makes Morden's replacement so crazy?
He's just some random scientist. Like, that's it.
And he's still, what's the race? Do you remember the name of the race?
Solarian.
Yeah, it's still Solarian. Yeah.
Wait, there is a replacement?
Yeah, there is a replacement. If you don't kill his assistant, I think his assistant becomes the replacement. If you do kill his assistant, it's just some random guy who worked with him.
Another Solarian.
Oh. Another Solarian.
Yeah. But anyway, that one really grabbed me. That really bummed me out, especially because he's like singing a little song and stuff too while he's going up to make good on it. And yeah.
I think I've said this in a previous podcast, but the end of Super Metroid when I was a little kid really got to me.
The little Metroid?
Yeah, because I didn't realize when I was playing it that what's her name? What's the mother?
Mother Brain?
No.
Chozo? Samus?
No, who's the final boss?
Mother Brain.
Mother Brain, right. I didn't realize that it was a scripted moment that she would she would completely kill you off and like take all your health, and so I thought I was just like playing poorly and that I had legitimately lost that fight. And then little baby Metroid came in and saved me and gave me the power while sacrificing itself. That was some heavy stuff when I was a kid.
I mean, for a game, it's like that sort of stuff just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's a good example. I liked the Mega Man X example that Andrew had here, which is just like, I guess I felt that way sometimes, and I don't know, when a Sonic game would end or something, and it's like everyone did it, and I was just young, and
sure,
it's like,
I wish I had more examples of this.
Yeah,
because I mean, Walking Dead and Last of Us are like the two everybody goes to, but
right.
I remember being somewhat. I don't think I cried because I'm a man. But like, oh man, I remember getting emotional or feeling emotional at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh yeah,
that was just a really powerful moment. It was like him getting sort of awarded and like all the stuff he'd gone through, and like he had to kill his boss,
right?
Which he was, it seemed like there's something more there than
for some people that's a fantasy.
Yeah,
and for him it was a very sad moment.
It was.
Honestly, I think 4 got me more. Hansen always points to one part where Otacon is describing Snake, and Snake couldn't make it to the wedding or something of Meryl and the guy who craps himself constantly, Johnny Sasaki. And
crying from laughter.
Yeah, exactly. And Otacon says something along the lines of like, Snake had a hard life or something like that, or a tough life, and I think that there was so many emotional like. Metal Gear 4 is just like this big climax to the entire story, basically, and there's enough nostalgia mixed up in there.
Sure.
I feel like I got a little wistful, but the next one is from Mike. Hey guys, I've been a big fan for quite a few years now, ever since I discovered Replay, but this is my first time writing in. My one big question for you all is, what do you think you would be doing with your lives if you weren't in the field of video game journalism? Anyway, thanks for the great content, and I hope you all have a fantastic 2016. That's from Mike. I think that we've answered this one. Some of us have, but I figured there was enough new people at the table that it might be interesting to go back to. JV, if you weren't writing about games even before GI, where do you think things would have led for you?
Well, I'd probably still be miserable teaching.
Teaching? Yeah.
I was teaching before I started freelance writing, so
hated it.
I like the active teaching, but I do not like grading, and I don't like how teachers are basically disrespected and supposed to like survive on like honor or whatever,
right.
Because they're like it's a calling, but we don't pay these people enough to survive. So
did you have to deal with a lot of like angry parents about their kids' grades too?
No, because I taught college.
Oh, you did?
So
okay.
Yeah, I never had to deal with any of that.
What courses
taught
again?
College?
Yeah, English.
I didn't know that.
Okay. That's what was your specialty? Like what kind of classes in English did you teach?
Oh, I just taught basic freshman.
English?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
How old were you when you were doing that?
I started when I was 23.
Am I mistaken, or is that like the age of some people that you'd be teaching or younger?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like college is all ages, but median age, I feel like.
It's usually like 18 to 20.
Yeah,
was who I teach.
Did you feel kind of young for your department?
No, because we were like graduate assistants, and then we became like teachers other places.
Okay.
But
you're like, I can drink legally.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, as someone who did not graduate with an English degree or a journalism degree,
I had
for me,
sorry,
I should definitely come to you. Feel comfortable to ask you questions about my grammar.
Sure.
Probably. Okay.
Probably
gotcha.
not.
No, you don't think so? Okay, gotcha.
What was your degree in, Tim?
Sociology.
That's right.
How about you, Reeves? Where would you be?
So, I graduated college with an English degree as well, but I wanted to write fiction. So writing books and stuff like that, which, shameless plug, I did write a book, Kill Screen, which you can go out and read right now.
It's an entertaining read.
Buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it, and I would appreciate yours. You, the reader.
Not me.
Or viewer or listener.
He's the teacher. Yeah. I don't want the teacher to read this. Anyway, yeah.
So you're saying in a parallel universe, you are an author that wrote the book that you wrote anyway, even though you're a video game journalist?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
You're just saying you would do more of that?
Well, I'd love to do more of that even now. Anyway, but in another parallel universe, I could see myself having gone on. I was pretty good with math in high school, so I could have seen myself maybe taking that path, and maybe I was fairly interested in special effects in movies.
Okay.
So doing something even Pixar or something, going and being an animator there, I think would be really cool if I'd ever have decided to pursue that. That would have been cool.
Gotcha.
Specifically Pixar. I wouldn't work anywhere.
No, nowhere else.
Yeah,
Just
nowhere else.
DreamWorks, right out.
You got to start. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Just get a paycheck.
Right.
Which is what paycheck or what Pixar is.
Pixar pays people.
Yeah. Jeff,
I think I was on the podcast the last time we did this. Yeah, in a parallel universe, I'd be the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I need to change
That's
my
right.
answer.
So you'd be a scientist?
No,
Bruce-
just the Hulk. Yeah.
Bruce Banner?
You'd
never
super angry.
You'd never turn back. You'd just constantly be the Hulk. Okay.
Why wouldn't you?
Would you always be angry?
I mean,
I am now. So what's the difference? I just bigger muscles.
Well, that's the trick.
Slightly
He's
bigger
always
muscles.
you
angry.
are angry.
No, I
It'd
think
be hard to handle small objects.
we're past it. Don't worry about it. I think last time I said that if I could go back and tell a younger me what to do, I probably would have told him to go into programming, which fits back in with that dumb game I was playing, but
Makes
just
sense.
some kind of computer science thing,
Right.
I think.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Let's
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why you're gone for the last segment of this podcast.
Yes.
It's just because you're going to start your career
go.
there.
Enrolling.
And I'm sure I've already talked about it, but I graduated with a sociology degree, so I probably would have gone down the, a counselor.
You were
or-
a cop, Tim.
I was a police reserve.
Yeah, same difference. You
I
had
guess.
a gun and a badge.
I drove a squad car and stuff.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, I realized that is there's some heavy stuff going on in the field of police work. There's a lot of stuff you see. And also juvenile probation. I shadowed juvenile probation officers. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this stuff. So I took a hard left turn, and here I am. And I'm glad I did it, but I might have gone down like the counselor route or something like that. But good question from Mike. The next one here is from Kalel, writing from Albany, New York, trying to get a little peek.
Kalel?
Kalel. Kolel.
Oh, not like Kal-El, the superhero.
That's super guy.
Oh, I didn't know there's a Superman.
Superman, that's his name.
That's his name. That's Superman's
This is his Krypton name.
Oh my God, is this? And it's from New York, which is close to Metropolis, right? Basically the same.
Basically the same thing.
In the Superman universe, do they acknowledge the existence of New York, or is it just?
It's good. I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I've read DC comics where they acknowledge like L.A. and like a couple other real cities, but they've made up so many of their own cities,
right?
That they usually just refer to those.
That's so weird. All right. Anyway, the gist of what he gets to here is how do we select guests for the podcast? And there isn't any crazy algorithms or alchemy going on here. Like basically what it came down to is, you heard what people talked about. JV was talking about Assassin's Creed Chronicles, India. Ben Reeves was familiar with Banner Saga, and Jeff Moon had played that Dragon Cancer. So a lot of the times it'll be based on like new releases, who's played what. Or if someone else has something they want to talk about specifically. But otherwise, Hans and I are on every episode, and we just try to keep up with releases and all that. So
yeah, Hanson's here.
A lot of it's dependent. It's not that crazy different from when Matt Helgeson was the host of the show a while back, and he would just cycle through and have fewer guests on at any given time.
Sure. I kind of like this format because Helgeson was always have people on one at a time.
Yeah.
Do it all at once.
It makes me less. I have to be less on point and paying attention all the time because JV or Jeff could hop in there with a correction or a good question and stuff. So it's easier.
So you're just saying you were lazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, okay. Yes. Oh my God. Josh writes in, "Hey there, GI crew. This is Josh from Chicago. My question to you is this: what game have you gotten or played that you expected to not like at all but ended up loving?" He gives the example of Battlefront. He actually ended up getting into Star Wars Battlefront. So that's from Josh.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, like there was I had an NES and there was some like ninja game. And I remember like renting it at one time and like telling my dad there's this ninja game and you're this and you can turn into birds and animals and stuff. I actually still don't know what the game is. So if anybody knows what game that is, let me know.
It's a fever game.
But I remember telling my dad, and he went out and he bought me for Christmas Shinobi 3 for the Genesis.
Was that it?
And
well, you could turn into animals, couldn't you?
That was not the game I was talking about. And I was so disappointed when I got it. I'm like, this isn't the game. And I was super snotty about it too, I think.
Gross.
And then
the games were like $60 still.
And then I played it and it was like, oh, it's actually pretty fun.
The Genesis?
But I still felt super bad because I was like, this isn't the game I wanted.
The Shinobi for Genesis?
Yeah. I also had a Genesis.
That's confusing because it was a Nintendo game. So he just like ended up coming back with the Genesis. So you didn't describe.
Exactly. I didn't describe it well enough, or he didn't like remember.
Sounds like partially.
Well, props to your dad when you just tell him, "Hey, I want the game where you're a ninja and you turn into stuff." He probably had to go down to the video game store and be like, "Oh, my son wants a game. You're a ninja and you turn into dream animals and
dream animals."
I didn't get into that Shinobi. Is that Revenge of Shinobi? I can't remember. Does he have the wolf in that one? That's his sidekick.
It's been a while since I remember really thinking it looks really cool for back in the day, and I remember there's this one scene where you're like skiing or something on the water, and that was a lot of fun.
Like ninjas do.
Oh yeah.
I played the hell out of Shinobi 1 on Master System, but I couldn't get into any other one. It was just
that was about the only one I really got into. Because then there was like the PS2 one.
Okay.
That was not as good.
JV, you got one?
Yeah, Tales from the Borderlands.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you don't like Borderlands, right?
Yeah, I hate Borderlands.
Hate it, he even says.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Borderlands?
It's just, I just don't enjoy the shooting, and the sense of humor wasn't really for me, and I felt like the best parts of that game were on the sidelines of like all the shooting and looting. Like, oh, this character seems pretty cool. Oh, they're giving me a quest. They're making a dick joke. Okay, that's cool. Later.
JB, can I tell you something?
What?
I have also felt like I've been on a little island with not being like over the moon on Borderlands like everyone else is. I like them okay. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Not hate, but...
Wait, what made you start Tales from the Borderlands?
Yeah, just because I read the reviews and people were like, oh, this is really good. You should hop in on this. And,
But
like
people said Borderlands was really good. And you're like, I don't believe
I'm weak.
Okay.
And a Telltale episode's like $5. So I was like, if I don't like this, I'm out $5 in 2 hours, whatever. And then I did like it.
You do a lot worse at Vegas with that kind of money. So yeah, all right, good. Yeah, that was your game of the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's my game of the
Tales
year.
of Borderlands.
Yeah.
So if it hates the revered first-person shooter Borderlands, Tales from Borderlands by Telltale, 2015 game of the year. For
Did
me.
that game make you at all feel like, oh, you know what? Maybe I gave Borderlands a bad shot the first time. Maybe I need to go back.
Maybe it would enrich your experience going back. No?
No, like it's if I'm going to play Borderlands 3 or whatever, the next Borderlands thing is on the hopes that like the characters from Tales from the Borderlands shows up, but I'm not looking forward to the gameplay.
So it was all because of the characters and whatnot you really liked.
Yeah, it's a Telltale game, I guess, at the end of the day. Jeffem?
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
Oh,
Yes.
That's a good one.
And I remember distinctly...
The first one.
Or two.
Dark Souls, the first one. Yeah. I remember Phil Kohler reviewed Demon Souls for us, and I remember watching him and laughing at him because he played that for so long in the office, and he always got so frustrated by it. And then, he came out with a glowing review, and everyone was like,
9-something.
this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
You're just a glutton for punishment. And I thought those people were so stupid. And then I ended up getting a copy of Dark Souls, from the office, and thought, I'll give it a shot, and really ended up liking it.
Did you work?
Totally got what everyone...
Did he also review
did.
Dark Souls? Who reviewed Dark Souls for us?
I think he probably did.
Maybe.
I think it was probably him.
Did you, it might have been Jim Riley. Did you work through all of Dark Souls 1?
No.
No, you didn't.
Or Dark Souls 2.
Yeah,
no.
you drop off at a certain point, which I was
I
about.
enjoy them, up to a point.
Jeffem was like my
I
one
move
person
on.
I could have long Dark Souls conversations with, besides
Well, you still
Tack.
can. I mean...
Yeah, okay. How did you fight?
Spoilers, come on, no,
Nishandra?
shut
Okay,
up.
gotcha.
Yeah.
For me, it was actually this year, last year, I guess, as I downloaded Taken King. I was like, okay, I played a lot of the Destiny Alpha. I tried playing Vanilla Destiny when it came out in 2014, and I just couldn't get into it. Like, what could Taken King do that much better? I don't know if it was the timing or just how Taken King reworked the loot or the way that they ramped up the story. But I just got super into it, and I'm still playing Destiny and stuff like that. So that surprised the hell out of me. Because, like, when you have an established opinion about a game and can go back to that same game with, like, significant but relatively small tweaks, it's still the same game and have a completely different experience. It's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was one of those. I really like this next question. This is from Jerry. He writes in, he's from Gilbert, Arizona. Love the show, etc. Thank you, Jerry. I just got a 3DS XL and had to get Super Mario 3 Land as my first game. The whole time playing it, I couldn't help but smile because of how jolly and fun the game was with its music and graphics. It got me thinking about other jolly games that I've played over the years. Those ones that just make you happy and gave you good vibes. For me, it's always been the Ratchet and Clank series because of its humor. What are your favorite jolly good vibe games, Jerry? I love the way he puts that.
Jolly good vibe games.
Jolly good vibe.
I mean, would Rock Band count? Like just something you play with friends and have a good time?
No.
I don't. In the spirit of his like good vibes, very very good feeling stuff, I feel very bad telling you that you're wrong. But I think that might be wrong.
You're
I think
wrong,
Good
yeah.
Vibrations is on Rock Band.
Is that right?
I have no idea.
I know I just talked about it in the first segment, but Earthbound is absolutely that. Like, it's a JRPG without any huge stakes. Like, the way they handle, like, huge stakes, like, you got to actually, like, you save the world, and it's this terrible guy that wants to kill everyone. Like, it just doesn't come across that way. It's just very chill, goofy, fun soundtrack, and just... that's one of those games... Super Mario Galaxy, anytime I'm like feeling a little blue or something, like if I pop in Mario Galaxy, I'm going to feel a million times better. It's just so colorful and whimsical.
Yeah, I was going to say another Mario game. And I recognize this isn't like the best Mario game, but Mario Sunshine. Mm-hmm. I just love the tropical setting and everything.
Yes.
It's very sunny, and like just playing through that game, I don't know, felt really happy. And I kind of like the jetpacky elements to it.
Me too.
And
I've been thinking about that game a lot, actually.
I was honestly thinking about going back and replaying it this year.
Are you worried about them suddenly announcing an HD remake the moment that you start like making
That'll
real
probably
progress?
happen, yeah. I mean, has it not come out on Wii U yet?
I don't think so. I think that the only way you can play that is on Wii. I'm sorry, on GameCube through a Wii.
Really? It's not a virtual console?
I don't think so.
Huh.
But that, yeah, I don't think it is. How many GameCube games have they released on?
HD remake would be great,
But
I think.
maybe Nintendo is like, just aware enough of sort of the polarized fan base around that
That's
one.
probably the only problem with that. I think they'd maybe re-release the Galaxies first.
Yeah, or do an update of, Mario 64 before they did that.
If they release both Galaxies in one package for the Wii U.
Galaxies?
Galaxies, yes.
Mario Galaxy.
Mario
Crossover with
Galaxies.
17-bit games. Let's make it happen. Sunshine's absolutely... I think it's just... The tropical music is also really good.
Yeah, the music's great.
The characters just cleaning up graffiti is just this sort of zen experience too, just like the opposite of Splatoon, basically. And
I like the intro where they're coming in on that plane.
yeah,
Welcome to the sun-drenched tropical paradise, or Isle Delfino.
Very good.
That's
Ben.
probably not even close.
How about the rest of you guys?
I don't play happy games.
You don't?
There you go.
Even like the happiest games I play have like some element of like despair and gloom to them. Like probably Fire Emblem, the latest Fire Emblem.
You don't play any just good times.
Not really.
happy
Not
go
anymore.
lucky games?
I guess Rocket League. That's the closest one.
You play Grow Home?
No,
last year?
no.
You say that almost with like a sort of course not.
No,
air to
I
it,
just haven't.
You should play Grow Home.
I've heard it's really good.
Yes. Do you play 3D platformers? Starting to feel like you
Not
don't.
often.
No? Did you play Mario 64? Mario Galaxy?
No, I didn't play it. I didn't have a Wii, so
You haven't played Galaxy?
no, I haven't played any of the Wii
Really?
Marios. No.
Mario Galaxy is the best 3D platformer of all
Now
time.
I can only hear Galaxy.
I know. I feel like I'm ruined too. JV,
I know. I'm sorry.
you
Do
have you have a
do
Wii U?
not like those games?
No.
You don't have a
No,
Wii
I
U?
haven't played them.
But do you not like that type of game, like platformers?
that's fine.
I'm just
It's
fascinated.
Yeah, I just haven't really played that many of them. I haven't
about
played
Ratchet
that
and
many.
Clank?
I played the first Ratchet and Clank. It was fine. I
Jack
haven't
and
really
Daxter?
been into them since Jack and Daxter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jack and Daxter.
that's
Jack and
the-
Daxter would count as
Yeah,
I thought
definitely.
that was a very fun, light.
until it went dark in the second one.
The second
Well,
one
but the
doesn't
first
count.
one, yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so Jack and Daxter then.
JV, have you even touched Mario Galaxy?
No.
Oh, I really want to play Mario Galaxy with you.
You should. I'd
Okay.
watch that.
I don't know if it's going to live up. Like, obviously, there's a certain amount of hype happening here, but God, it's just like, I don't know. It immediately just mellows me the hell out. Do you like challenging platforming?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You know, another game I really like that's relaxing, it's like SSX3. I don't know if that quite fits because it's not like bubbly
doesn't.
hearts and stuff. No,
You
but
failed
like,
again. Rick.
no.
Come on.
Listen, let me
don't
make my
understand the
case.
question.
Hold
Read
on.
the question again,
No.
Tim.
Going down a hill and just hearing the crunch of snow is very relaxing. Like,
sounds
that's a
like-
good sound, right?
Okay, but it's
Well,
not a
you're-
happy
You're
jolly.
from Colorado, so I don't know.
Look, Tim.
But you're doing tricks and crazy flips
no.
like
wrong.
superheroes.
Tim.
It got me thinking about other Jolly games that I've played over the years. Jolly.
Jolly.
Is there anything Jolly about SSX?
There's people
play
doing
Santa?
crazy flips over their snowboard like helicopters.
I think Jolly, and the thing that I hear is like Mario's yeah, wah, wahoo, or I hear like "Guh," like I hear just dumb 3D platformer noises.
so. You have to be a dumb mascot.
You got to
for this
be a
count?
big dumb mascot.
yes,
Right.
and in that vein, Little Big Planet.
Yes,
That's a good fit.
that's a great
Just
example.
happy little
Or-
sack boy creatures.
Happy Little Sack Boy, Yoshi's Woolly World is a slam
Oh, that's a
dunk.
good one.
Mario Maker, an example. Splatoon, I would accept Splatoon because
so
it's
pretty
just,
much Nintendo games is what you're saying.
yes, correct. Yeah, Nintendo's mega hit Little Big Planet. Anyway, that's a great question. I love that question.
Limbo.
Limbo. Yes.
There you go.
You know, any kind of
Yeah,
just like
just-
really jolly, happy platformer
it's
like
very
that.
relaxing
Yeah. You know, it
walkthrough.
depends. It depends on how cute the guy that gets beheaded is really what it comes down
Right.
to. What do you think the guy looks like if you turn on the lights? What does he look like?
The kid from Boy and His Blob.
Is that it's just the same character model?
I like that his eyes are glowing.
It is a good.
I
effect.
want to know what's going on
A
there.
good effect. Davio from Manchester, UK, formerly of Chicago, Illinois, writes in, hey, Gamer4 folks, I wanted to ask, what was your favorite new genre of the past couple of years? Maybe the last console generation. We saw a lot of interesting ideas come into the fray, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed-style open-world outpost capturing games, MOBAs, etc. I'm personally a fan of the rise of the first-person weaponless horror games and the proliferation of the new interesting walking simulators. Sort of going off of that, are there any styles of games that you wish had taken off more? Just genres that you've liked that are newer from the last couple of years. That's from Davio.
Yeah. He kind of just went through the list on his own there.
Well, one that I didn't see on there that made me think of, and people cringe for some reason about this, like it's a dirty thing to talk about, but like Dark Souls sort of elements that have creeped into other games, and even if you think of the Dark Souls as sort of a genre in that, you know, Bloodborne continued that, elements of that series went into Shovel Knight when you drop gold and having to sacrifice checkpoints and stuff. Even in Need for Speed, there was an element of risk with that, and I really like that kind of gameplay.
Sort of risk reward.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that a genre so much.
No, you failed the question.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
No, it's a close one. I would say collectible card games and digital trading card games.
Yeah.
I've really gotten into recently.
Jeff watches more Hearthstone matches than he probably plays.
Yeah, I've kind of moved on from Hearthstone. Turns out there are a ton of them on whatever mobile platform.
What are you watching now?
on.
What?
Like, did you say you moved on in terms of you're watching a different card game?
No, I'm not watching card games anymore. I'm actually playing them now.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you play that's not Hearthstone?
There are a couple different ones on Android. One of them I think Tack wrote about is called Earthcore, where it's this kind of it's a very
It's my favorite music genre, actually.
it's a terrible name. Don't judge it by its name. But they're very basically very short matchups where you both play 3 cards and you compete against. Why do I always have to explain like the hardest games?
I don't know. Why do you play the most obscure stuff?
You print off a giant manual.
You print off all your own cards.
Right. You have 3
fax
cards.
in this
Draw in
instruction
your
manual.
pictures.
You have 3 cards that go against your opponent's 3 cards, and it's basically like rock, paper, scissors elements of like water, fire, and earth. But then each one has abilities, so you can kind of like switch them around, and there's a ton of strategy, and actually you can turn cards into different ones and stuff like that. And
That's a good answer.
yeah.
I was going to say he mentioned walking simulators. I don't know if that's the best term for him.
It's a bit
yet.
of derogatory term,
Right.
But no one has come up with a better like name for the genre. I think the closest I've heard to taking off is FPX, which is first person experience.
Yeah, I don't
but
love that.
No, that's
JV, you're right to roll your eyes at that.
I don't know that they all have to be first person either. is the
They
other
don't.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, stuff like Gone Home was, I don't know, revelation's quite the right word for me, but I remember going into that and being like, well, everybody's talking about this. They really like it. And then I ended up really liking it. And stuff like even Beginner's Guide, which I just played about a month ago. I really like that as well. So stuff like that where it's like you're telling me a story and it's not really a lot of puzzles or hard, but there is a narrative that you're walking through and it can be fairly well crafted. And I've enjoyed a lot of those games.
Right. JB?
I'm kind of like goof games. So, sort of broken Goat Simulator and that frog game we were playing with the Ouya's Graveyard test chamber we did.
A golf
None
game?
of you guys were there. No, the frog game.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Amazing Frog?
Yeah, the Amazing Frog with the question mark.
I played the hell out of Amazing Frog with Dan Reichert and Ben Hansen during one break. We had an Ouya, and we just set up Amazing Frog, and it's just like an open world and like terrible physics, and all we did was chase each other around and play tag basically. But we just played the Beastie Boys Sabotage on repeat while chasing each other with like the most ridiculous frog physics. It was ridiculous and stupid, but I get it.
Yep. But I'm into that.
Did you play Viscera Cleanup Detail at all?
Yeah, I did play that.
Isn't that game like weirdly therapeutic?
It is kind of, because so many games are about destroying, but you're actually, you're cleaning up. And You're relaxing. It's very relaxed.
You're basically like the janitor that would be on Cleanup Detail after a fight from Doom or something. And, mopping up blood. And then suddenly the mop bucket is just now blood water. So you have to go and like incinerate that and get new water. I need to actually go back to that game. That game was like a weird kind of zen. But I would also agree with the horror game. Here.
Same here.
If my example of Dark Souls being a pseudo genre is not good, then your Outlasts, your PTs, your Among the Sleep, stuff like that.
Horror games have been around for a long time, Tim.
Alien Isolation. Yeah, I know, but the ones where you're fighting is not the focus. This is what I'm saying.
Okay, so walking simulator.
Yes, correct. Okay. Running simulator.
Running simulator
for your life simulator. This next one here is a bit of an odd one, but I like it for that. This one's from Henry from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Hey guys, I'm not sure if he actually did it last week, but in honor of Ben deciding to shave his beard, do you remember a specific fashion choice that you made in your life that you'll always remember as a poor choice? My favorite one was my terrible 1990s frosted hair tips in my high school senior photo, which I get to relive often because my parents still have it hanging in my living room. Clearly, they didn't think it was a bad fashion choice. That's my read. P.S. I personally think Hansen rocked the hell out of that beard. I think it looked
He
pretty
didn't.
good too.
No.
Yeah, it looked fine.
It looked fake.
It looked fake.
It looked like a stage beard.
Just like Eric Cartman's beard from.
It was just some of his sister's hair that he cut. And
Is that right?
Glued it onto his face.
I have a lot of them.
Well, I want to hear how embarrassing it is for you.
First one is really rough. This was like middle school, and my hair, I always had like thin hair growing up, which is no surprise because now I have a receding hairline as an adult man.
I never noticed.
But I think I like started losing my hair when I was like 19 or something. But I had really thin hair, and it just, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of a nerdy kid, and my cousin always had gel in his hair, like the really thick gel, and he'd like spike it up and stuff, or just like comb it forward. And eventually I got the idea to put the gel in my hair, and I kind of combed it forward so it did that thing where it just sort of like clumped up but then had kind of like spikes along your forehead. And I remember just like being like, yeah, this is it, like I'm finally a person. You know that Simpsons where Lisa gets her hair cut and she's like, I'm a human being, and immediately gets laughed at? Like it was like that, but no one was kind enough. There was no kindly Nelson Muntz to get me on course. So I thought that was a good hairstyle for a little while.
That's pretty good.
It was gross though.
I got a hair thing too. So in probably like 4th or 5th grade, there was like the coolest kid in school had a mullet.
Okay.
And I was like, man, it was a different era apparently, because I thought he
what
was the
year would
coolest
this be
kid.
approximately?
Early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Early.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Maybe 1990.
I'll buy that. Mullets are just on their way out, basically.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm going to do that. And so I like started growing my hair out in the back.
Did you have curly hair though still?
And the thing is, my hair's super curly, so it doesn't really like grow down. It just sort of like rolls itself into like these like weird Princess Leia nubs. And I kept that hairstyle for far longer than it.
Do you have any pictures?
Into high school? Yeah. So like you came to my wedding, and so we do the wedding photo shoot. I had to like cull through photos and like try to find some that did not have mullets.
Ben, you like it was after the after you were done at the church while everyone's still sitting in their pews, and then it was just like hostage audience. The slideshow is perfect. Everyone had all high eyes forward, and we watched all these ridiculous pictures of you flash by.
Yeah,
I don't remember that one of the curly mullet, though.
There was one photo in there of me with the mullet.
Need to see that again. Did your parents like try to ever help you like comb it out, or
they never said anything. There was like in
maybe they should have.
Junior high, I remember I would find gum in it occasionally. It was like people are playing pranks on me.
Oh no!
And like I would go like if I was ever swimming, it would grow like 3 times longer, and it'd be like halfway down my back.
That sounds disgusting,
it was
man.
At some point, I'm like, why am I doing this? Never looks good. It never looks like I
came to that quiet realization
Yes,
yourself?
eventually by myself.
Oh my god! If anyone can top Ben, I'm so sorry.
I don't know how I survived. I wonder why I was a nerd. I don't know.
That's bad.
I was really into Dragon Ball Z at one point.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I had jet black hair, and I wanted to be a Super Saiyan.
Oh no, you wanted to go Saiyan.
Yeah, I did. So I went and I got my hair dyed, but the person who dyed it didn't know what she was doing, and I ended up coming out looking cherry blonde.
Really?
Yeah, and so I kept that for about a year just because I thought it was so cool.
You thought it was different. Well, it was different. And how old were you? Middle school?
12.
Okay.
I want to go 12.
So it was different,
Yeah.
and you were excited about that.
Yeah, not as bad as Ben's.
That's it. Jeffem?
Yeah, I also had a mullet.
Really?
Oh,
When I was
wait,
a
I think
kid.
I've seen this.
I was like 6, maybe like 8 years old. I mean, I didn't even.
Was it
know.
coincidence that you just went to scratch the back of your head? Was that a phantom itch?
Yeah, every time I remember. We didn't know they were called mullets back then. We didn't know that you were supposed to be a redneck if you had one.
Okay.
It was just like you had spiky hair, and then you also had like
Well,
this.
a redneck would
super long-
grow a mullet to combat the redneck, right?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Maybe that's the
That
origin
would
story.
make more sense. I've never.
But
thought
yeah,
of that.
I had that, and also when I was a kid, I used to wear just huge T-shirts, and I remember the most embarrassing one was I had the like gangster Looney Tune, like Bugs Bunny and Tasmanian Devil, but they all have like the backwards hat and like baggy jeans, and they're all hanging out. So just imagine that on like a full man size T-shirt that like comes down to my knees, and me with a mullet and spiky hair.
You know what would be a good idea for a party? Be to have everyone dress like the child version of themselves down to the bad hairstyle.
That is pretty good, actually.
But Jeff, I'm having a really easy time, and don't take this the wrong way, because I've seen you with a mustache, like a dirty mustache.
Yes.
I'm having a really easy time imagining you with a mullet now, and a mustache. and that same Looney Tunes shirt, just rocking that. How much would I have to pay you to make that happen?
You don't make enough, Tim.
I don't. No, I can't afford it. I bet I could find a number.
Honestly, aside from like the scruff and the beard, like Jeffem doesn't look that much older than he probably did in high school. I bet.
I swear I've seen some pictures of. Yeah, you're
I'm saying you look young.
You've aged well.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I've seen some like driver's licenses pictures of you that are like scary. Like I'm kind of
yeah. I mean, well, I didn't bring it up because those were still awesome. I had long hair at one point.
Yeah, that's the one.
And spiky hair, just not in the back.
Right.
I learned to cut it off in the back.
Good idea.
If you're going to go with spiky hair.
You've covered up your tattoos since.
At one point, I also was obsessed with this. I'm not saying also to you, JV, but I loved Limp Bizkit. I'm like, well, Fred Durst is a cool guy. I'll bring in a picture of Fred Durst and make me look like this guy because I was a wayward middle schooler. And it turns out all that means is like having blonde hair in that time. And so they went through like this meticulous highlighting process. But all it was is like the same means to like a more professional means of just bleaching your hair. And so I did that for a while. But more probably offensive was I went for the hockey hair look because I wore a hat a lot. And that just basically means your hair just kind of curls around your baseball hat at the bottom. It's kind of longer. I went for it, and it looked stupid. It was really dumb. I think that's still my freshman college ID picture. Oh, I figured that out pretty quick, though. Oh, man. Now I'm feeling bad about my former self.
I think we've done okay.
That was a good question.
Look at us now.
It was a good question.
We're all millionaires.
That one was from Henry. Thank you. Okay. Final one is from Justin from Newport News, Virginia. Newport News. Isn't that a I'm trying to think. It sounds like some place that you'd buy like a pack of gum at the airport.
Sounds like a Starz TV show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Basically, to cut this one a little bit short, he's asking, how do we play games for our job? Is it 8 hours a day going through the game? Is it half and half, writing and playing? Do you play at the office, at home, or both? Does everyone have a PS4 and an Xbox One at their desk, or do you check them out from central location, et cetera, et cetera? Just trying to ask, like, how does playing games, preview or review or whatever, fit into like our day-to-day job?
I think if there's one misconception that people have, it's how much we actually play video games at work.
Yes,
it's pretty much like 95% writing, and if you are sometimes if you're doing a preview and you'll actually get like a demo build of it. Or if you're reviewing it, that's when you actually play it. But otherwise, you're just writing all the time. Or doing these stupid podcasts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, we have like maybe 1 or 2 reviews a month. Like, would you say that's fair on average? Probably there's some months that's
at
more,
the most.
Some that's way less usually.
Yeah.
So, but even that's only a couple days. You're probably playing that game out of the month. And then otherwise, you're usually, like Jeffem said, writing or, a lot of emailing, a lot of like doing podcasts or test chambers or whatever.
Right. And, if you think of like big games, like if you got a big RPG 2 weeks early and only played 8 hours a day, you probably wouldn't get it done. So,
Right. So in those instances, we do go home. Like Miller went home and played a lot of Xenoblade.
Right. Yeah. Like it's hard to get, if you really need to make progress in a game, even trying to do it at the office is almost, it's a lost cause because there's a lot of interruptions throughout the day, whether it's just chatting with someone, getting a question, or answering emails, or a meeting, or having to proofread something for someone. Like any number of things can just interrupt the flow of getting into a game.
Right.
And once you lose momentum, that can be tough. So you'll stay home, or juggling multiple deadlines for whether it's a online embargo or a print embargo for a review can complicate things. So I think the majority of it, unless it's a shorter game, will be done outside the office and stuff like that.
Right.
But a lot of us, like, more and more review code comes in as codes. So more and more, I think we're playing things on our own systems.
Yeah,
but we have,
it's kind of nice.
We have office systems too.
We don't have enough to go around for everybody to have one on their desk, but
right.
So we usually have these like central hub cabinets that we use to store them.
Judging by the size of our Xbox 360 graveyard, it seemed like maybe last gen there was more systems per editor, but
there were. Well, but also the 360s kept breaking, so we had to keep getting new ones. So that was part of it.
That makes sense.
It is kind of frustrating, actually, because you're always like walking around the office like, does anybody have a PS4 controller I can use? It's like, that's the most frustrating part of not having one for everybody.
Yeah, it's always more reliable just to use your own stuff. But then, of course, none of that is counting in like hours spent live streaming or recording test chambers or replays and stuff. But that counts in its own way. But no, most of it the real work gets done off the clock, I'd say, or you stay home and do it. So, but that's
I try not to do too much of it off the clock.
I mean, you want to play your own games, right?
I sit on a clock when I...
Is that right? Play games. That's a good idea. The worst is when you have to play a game you hate off the clock, like Escape Dead Island or something, which I have to correct.
Did you do that?
From last year? I think I said it was like maybe one of the worst of 2015, but Escape Dead Island actually came out in late 2014. But yeah, you got to like hurry up and get a game done sometimes because it's just a deadline. That's how it works. Those are our emails for this week. I don't know what you guys are thinking for your favorite for email of the week.
I like the hair one.
I really liked the fashion one.
It was probably the best discussion. I don't know if the question was all that. What was the question again?
It was, just a fashion choice that you regret. And I know it's not game related, but I really think that we should give it to Henry from Gettysburg.
Why not? From Gettysburg, even.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. In a time where there's not a lot of crazy game news going on right now, sometimes you guys got to talk about terrible choices you made.
Encourages people to go a little bit more off book with their questions.
That's right.
Think of something creative.
So thank you, Henry. That is our email of the week. We'll be sending you a little something.
Prize.
Quote unquote. But if you want us to read one of your emails, you can send that to podcast@GameInformer.com. So stay tuned. We're going to swap out Jeff Marchiafava for Brian Shea.
I'm outta here.
And we're going to go into some of our, favorite, all-time favorite video game music, or maybe some tracks that we like right now, and talk about those from a variety of eras. But yeah, stay tuned for more of the Game Informer Show. Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I feel like I'm getting away with something because Ben Hansen isn't here, and Ben Hansen, as you may know, has a giant gaping hole where his soul is supposed to be, so video game music means nothing to him, really. So what I've done here is gathered people who I think give a damn about video game music, and while the cat's away, the mice will get together and talk about some of their favorite video game tracks. What I tasked you guys with is sort of, since we've never really talked about video game music on the podcast in like a more involved way, and like none of us are like, I don't think like professional musicians or composers or anything, like we're going to be talking in layman's terms for the most part about these tracks, but you could talk about your all-time favorite or something that you've been liking recently. But kind of how we divided it up is we chose two songs. We came at this with two songs, one from like the early like 8-bit era to the kind of 32/64-bit PlayStation or N64 era. Like that's one chunk. That's one era. And we all chose one song from there. And then one from the PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox era on up until now. That's kind of how we divided this up. So we'll each be choosing two songs. And we're going to kind of introduce them, listen to them, so you can have a listen at home. And then we'll talk about them. We're just going to go around the horn and do the old ones first, and then the more modern ones second. I feel like PlayStation 2 is like not as modern as maybe as it once was when you talk about it. It's hard to talk about that line, you know?
Yeah.
Where do you guys think that line is?
Probably, well, I want to say PS1. Just
really?
Felt like there was just because when things went 3D, it just felt different.
Really?
Not advent, but like the introduction of CD technology allowed for a different kind of music.
That's true.
To be played, and so
you could play them on CD players. You know what I mean?
Classic chiptune thing. It was like a sort of invention that needed to happen for those old games, and then when you could have like real orchestral music, people started to do that. So
yes,
I think there's a line there.
And welcome Brian Shea, by the way. This is
thank you, Tim.
One of GI's resident passionate video game music fans. So we're going to kick things off with this is from, I was talking about it earlier on the show, but this is from Earthbound. This is Theme of Onett. I think it's Onett because it's Onett, and then the next area in the game is Tucson, Twosson, and then it's Threep. So then if they're all numbers, then this must be Onett. This is by Keiichi Suzuki, and this is from Earthbound on Super Nintendo from 1994. All right, so that's Theme of Wynette from Earthbound. I chose this song because the Earthbound soundtrack, like Earthbound is incredibly revered by anyone that's played it, it seems. And I did not know what I was expecting from the soundtrack. And I think I had tried listening to the soundtrack on its own before I ever started playing it, and nothing stood out to me. I just knew, like, nothing ever grabbed me. I remember, Smash Brothers. I'd play Smash Brothers, and Fire Emblem songs would get stuck in my head, and games that I had no real connection to. But Earthbound just never would click. And then once I was actually in the game and wandering around like Wynette in this case, it's just such a weird, quirky soundtrack. There's not like ever a real distinct melody that comes out, but it's really happy-go-lucky.
Yeah. It's very, very fun and light.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like ukuleles on a beach or something.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
Like,
which
Kind of tropical.
yeah, kind of tropical. I'm curious too, because a month ago, this probably would not have made it on your list.
No.
But now it's like, that's got to be because you're playing it right now, though, right?
Absolutely. This isn't like maybe one of my favorites of all time, but it's just like would stick in my head. It was like a real earworm for me, and I felt happy. I would be like humming this and just walking around, and it was just one of those like, we had a reader email that was just about, or a listener email about like just jolly games, and I was talking about Earthbound, and like this song was just like, this would play, and I listen to podcasts more when I play games than I ever used to, and I just like started pausing it and like, I want to like be in this, like it just made me feel good.
Sure.
Very chill stuff. So, JV, what do you got for us from the classic era?
Yeah, I have from Chrono Trigger Chrono's theme, which is like the main theme for the game. And I can't pronounce the composer's names because I'm terrible with Japanese names. It's Nobu Uematsu, the Final Fantasy.
Uematsu.
Yeah, and then there was another guy, Mitsuru.
Yoshinori Mitsuda?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so that was my pick.
Okay, and that was Super Nintendo. What year was...
It was Super Nintendo, 1995, and then it got ported, the horrible PlayStation 1 version, just terrible. And now it's on DS, which is the best version you can play.
Which I wish Earthbound was on more than just Wii U.
What makes it better? What makes it
It's
better
just
version?
the performance is better. You can use the menu on the bottom screen, so it's just less
That is
hectic.
nice.
Yeah.
That's how I played it, too.
I do love the second screen stuff with like RPGs and even like
great.
Zelda games. It's so great to have the inventory management down on your second screen.
It's awesome.
Yep.
So this is Chrono's theme?
Yeah, this is Chrono's theme.
All right, let's hear it. So that's Chrono's theme from Chrono Trigger.
A little bit more weight to it than the last song.
Yeah, no kidding. It's definitely way more driving.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I like it so much. It's the song that plays when it's about to go down.
Yeah.
But it's also like one that I have in my head when I'm like getting ready for stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Like getting ready like for work.
Yeah,
or
just getting
to go
ready for
out,
work,
or-
getting ready to beat somebody up, I guess.
Do you listen to video game music when you're trying to get amped up or trying to get some work done or something like that?
Yeah.
So this is up there.
Yeah, this is up here.
That's pretty good.
It fits in really well with like my memories of Chrono Trigger. I think this is the song that probably sticks out the most. Like the sort of like horns, like the trumpet that kind of is going on there. Like it feels very. It's not so much triumphant, but it feels like, I don't know, like you're prepping up for battle.
Yeah, it's to me it's like the video game version of Eye of the Tiger.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
can see
say
that.
epic and soaring,
Yeah.
just because it just feels like you're flying over in an airship.
Is
across
this
the space.
what was
Is
playing?
this the one that where you're in the airship?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kinda
This
feel
plays
like
a
that.
lot in the game.
Maybe it's because I remember playing it, but it's a good song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, excellent choice. Throw us for a loop, Reeves.
Yeah. Guess what's coming up? It's Chrono Trigger.
Oh,
song,
right.
actually. Yeah.
It turns out that has a good soundtrack, huh?
Yeah, maybe it's just a testament to how good that soundtrack was. I almost hesitated to pick it because I know JV had picked Chrono Trigger, but
I love that you both chose it though, because it just speaks volume for that soundtrack.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, I picked a different track. It's the 600 AD theme, and the information I got was it's Yoshinori Mitsuda is the composer. So I assume he's the sole composer for this track. I don't know.
Sometimes Japanese credits can be even trickier. And sometimes someone's credit is just a letter of the alphabet, like K, I think is like a famous Konami composer or something like that. But
he was just trying to like text somebody, okay.
That's right.
Like,
yes.
hey, what do you want?
Texting in 1995, super popular.
Okay.
But that's the thing. But in other cases like this, sometimes you can find more detailed information about like track by track composers. So this is 600 AD.
Yeah, which is the theme that plays when you're in that time period.
Yeah. All right, let's give it a shot. So that's 600 AD from Chrono Trigger?
From Chrono Trigger.
So interesting to play these back to back, right? Because it's clearly a variation on the main theme.
Right. But it's a little bit different. It's more like peaceful and relaxed.
Yeah.
Which I like. And
lofty.
yeah, I mean, it's sort of meaningful for me because it struck me as a very like emotional track. And I actually picked it as like a piano remix version to play at my wedding.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
that's right.
kind of like when people were like sitting down and
I really liked that.
uber nerd version. And there was a few people who like picked up on it and like talked to me about it afterwards, which wasn't all GI people, like a couple other friends.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sweet, I didn't know you had played the game or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just think it's like a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah, obviously like the main melody, instead of like the horns, like the 16-bit horns that we had from Chrono's theme is replaced with strings.
Yeah.
And you mentioned soaring before, and like that sort of vibe I think transfers into this, but it feels like airier, like there's a different tone to it.
Yeah, it's more, I said relaxed, but it feels more, you can almost hear the tick-tock
Yeah.
of like a grandfather clock this time.
Which is
And
another consistent theme with Chrono
right,
Trigger.
of the theme, which I don't feel like is as, it's kind of drowned out in the main theme.
Yeah, like kind of like a woodblock instrument almost, kind of, that kind of like resonates. It's a cool effect, and I forgot how much I liked the Chrono Trigger theme until I heard both of these variations.
Good soundtrack.
This one almost reminds me more of Final Fantasy, like
I can see that.
which is Square's main, Uematsu composed
Right.
JRPG series. But
There's
this,
I almost picked the Xanarkin theme from Final Fantasy X,
Yeah.
which is another good.
we wouldn't want to listen to that on the
No,
show
no,
at all.
it's not good at all.
Well, awesome, great choice, Shay. What do you got for us?
I am bringing us a Koji Kondo joint.
Ooh,
And people who know music know he's the man behind Mario. He's behind Zelda. I chose one of my favorite songs from Super Mario World, so 1990, and it is the ending theme.
man, Super Nintendo across the board today. This is great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't
right.
even realize.
Yeah, so
Neither
this
did
is
I.
the ending theme from Super Mario
Ending
World.
theme, yep.
Okay. So that was the ending theme from Super Mario World. What does this song mean to you, Brian?
I think it's just like this just jovial song where you're just, you just beat Bowser, you're walking back, and like the end credits are showing like Mario and like all the Yoshis walking through, or all the Yoshi eggs are kind of bouncing behind him as he's walking through all the different worlds you just adventured through. And it's just like this sense of accomplishment, and it just keeps building and building and building until you get to the end, and then it's just this big like thank you screen, and all the Yoshis hatch and everything. It's just like this big happy moment.
Well, and like there's almost to me when I hear it, like there's almost this, especially the quieter like almost piano part that plays as it's wrapping up. It's like there's almost like a sad element to it, which is almost, it's obviously not a sad story. You won, but I think what makes it kind of melancholy is that you spent so many dozens of hours having such fun with this game. It's like, oh, it ends, like crap. And at the same time, it almost has like, there's kind of like a stage play motif to like Mario 3, and I think there's even an element to that in Mario World, and even the creators have said that, hey, these are kind of like an acting troupe that go from, play to play, and that's why they're always in the same games. And I think there's something to it that makes me think like, this seems like a big stage production is ending almost,
And I love the part right now where it's like double time.
Yes.
And it's just like, all right, now it's like really picking up, and it's just really great. And the thing about this is this will probably be stuck in all of our heads for the rest of the day and probably into tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
That's Koji Kondo for you.
This is an interesting choice, Brian. It's very playful. I like it. It's not like the first song I would think of if you're like, I'm going to play you guys a Mario Brothers track.
Same here. I thought about it for a little bit. I was like, there's the water theme. There's all kinds of great Mario songs. But I even like went over to other Kondo games like Zelda. And
it reminds me of like a carnival ride.
Yeah, I definitely get that, which is interesting because the clown car.
Yeah, it also reminds me of like Super Mario Brothers 2 music. Which I don't know if you guys pick up. It's almost like they're kind of harkening back to that for some reason.
You should, like, if you like this, and I'd encourage everyone to go back and like listen to end credit music for Zelda and like all the classic Zeldas and all the classic Mario games, because like they can hit on such different like emotional notes than the entire rest of the game. Like Zelda's ending music like just doesn't even like sound like it belongs in Zelda, but yet it does. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a big fan of all of them. And Mario 64 has great ending credits music too. So.
Unbelievable.
So from here we're gonna click into from PlayStation 2 and on, which is maybe even more of like, I think we'll probably see more variety here just because of, like Ben was saying, like advances in audio technology. But this is actually mine is probably the least of a departure from what we've heard. And then also it has a direct connection to kind of my first choice. So this is from Undertale. This is probably my most played song of 2015.
Sure.
And I played the entire game. You can beat the entire game and never hear this song. It's a boss fight that only happens if you play a certain way. And I've been tempted to play through the game just so I can have full context for what I think is an awesome song.
Well, can you say what the way is? Is that a spoiler?
You got to be a not nice person in Undertale. And this plays during an important boss fight. So this is Megalovania, which is also an amazing name.
That's a great name.
Really
yes.
good name.
Also, this is the Undertale version. This is from Homestuck, I think, is another game that Toby Fox, the developer and composer of Undertale, was involved in. So this existed before Undertale, but this is the Undertale version. Obviously, you can play Undertale on PC. Came out just last year. So this is Megalovania. Wade was rocking out in the production booth, and how could you not? I feel like this song speaks for itself in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's move on then, JV.
I mean, like, I heard this song without even having context for that battle. Right. You know what I mean? But like,
have you gone on YouTube or anything to like look up the battle?
Yeah, I definitely did that. Actually, that might have been the first time I heard this song was looking up the alternate endings because I really liked Undertale. I wanted to know what I'd missed. And this song, I mean, I see the name, and Megalovania is just like, you're kind of hearkening to some Castlevania vibes, and like just the name alone got me. But this has like pretty much everything I like in a video game song in it. It's got like, this crazy catchy chiptune lead to it, but then also it has like the crazy distorted metal guitar beneath it. So it's like you're almost getting like a chiptune mixed with a metal cover of it. And there are some great metal covers of this very song. And it's just got this unassuming intro. It sounds like it's really a conservative little song, and then it just kind of gets more bombastic.
Right. Well, I'd actually never heard the song before. So
really?
Thanks for introducing it. But I thought it was like one of those songs you first hear and like immediately you're like, okay, I'm gonna like this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love the sort of layers to it where it starts out and then you're like, yep, and then it adds something to it that trick of looping back and like adding to the same layer over and over again.
And that's
I love that. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, and this does it well.
Did you play through all of Undertale?
Yeah, but I didn't get the song because I didn't play that playthrough.
And that's something that is like part of what makes Undertale so great too, is a lot of times the music will dynamically play off of what's happening in the battle and will layer, and then it'll click into a different mode of battle, and the song will get richer in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I thought that this song was like a good example of that. But yeah, that's Megalovania.
Yeah, I really like this song too. And when it first kicked in, I thought maybe it was going to be kind of like a funkier song, and then like just the metal influence just crashed the party pretty much. It was great.
It's an intense song, and you can get some work done if you listen to this song.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good to know.
JV, what do you got?
I have a Vigil from the first Mass Effect, and it's actually in all three of them. The composers Jack Wall and Sam Hulick. I love this song because the Mass Effect games, they're all radically different from one another. Like, they just play so differently. And this song plays in every single one of them and seems to be like a unifying thing, and it's very sorrowful.
And so this is Vigil from
Mass Effect.
Okay.
The first one?
Yep, the first one.
Okay.
All right, so that is Vigil from Mass Effect.
Right.
JV, when does that play in the game?
That usually plays, Mass Effect has mostly action sequences, but there are moments with obviously character developments, where there's BioWare moments when you're talking with other characters, getting to know them. So this often plays during those moments.
Okay.
Or it's also almost always when you see this, it's always against a background of space too. Like you're in your ship, and behind the character, there's the cosmos behind them. And so, it's also one of those, oh man, look at the wonder of the universe sort of songs.
I think that fits it really well. Like, I feel like this could fit well into a documentary about space. You know what I mean?
Right,
just, like David Atkinson talking over it or something like that.
moment,
Yeah.
The thing about like some of the more modern games, like when you talk about my love of video game music, it's the first thing I think of is like, you know, the Mario, Zeldas, and the older games, Sonic. But I don't know the names of all these songs, and I can't point back to like, oh, that one song from Mass Effect. But then I hear it, and I'm just instantly transported back to like a scene on the Normandy, and like this is one of those examples where it's like I had no idea what you were talking about going into it, and then it's the first note that played. I was like, oh, this song. So
you know, it's tricky. It's one of those things where it's like the technology was limited in a way that they had to repeat themselves more on older platforms, and so it was usually catchier, it would get stuck in your head, and also just by the nature of not having access to as many games when you were a kid, you just played those over and over again, so they got wiggled in there, whereas I think more now we play a game and kind of move on because there's so many games, but then it's, like you said, it's remarkable when you hear it again. It's just like, oh yeah. Like Mass Effect.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Come get some.
It's an interesting turn from your first choice too, the Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Both RPGs, though.
Yeah.
From a guy who I feel like you don't define yourself as a big RPG guy.
No, Chrono Trigger's the only JRPG I can really stomach, actually, to replay it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually I'm one and done.
You don't like random battles?
Undertale might break that. I might go back to Undertale.
Yeah.
What?
You don't like random battles, or what's the...
It's just they feel samey in a way that I'm not.
Okay.
But, you know, at the same time, most first-person shooters feel the same, and I love that. So it's not really a knock against it. It's just not my thing.
Taste.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reeves, what do you got?
Fair enough. I got Vigil from Mass Effect with my choice.
Just a slight variation on it, though.
Yeah, just slight.
It's the hardcore version.
just
metal
kidding,
cover,
guys.
yeah.
I just really want to be like JV. I actually picked a different game this time. It's Assassin's Creed 2. It's called Ezio's Family Theme, but I think it's actually kind of the main theme of the game. It's by Jesper Kid.
Okay.
And
he has a great name.
yeah,
It's a
and he's
good one.
one of my favorite like modern day composers.
Yeah. Also, you should listen to his Batman and Robin for the Genesis soundtrack. It's insane.
Yeah.
But so this is Ezio's Family's theme from Assassin's Creed 2?
Yep.
Okay, here it is. So that's Ezio's Family theme from Assassin's Creed 2. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a tragic is the first word that comes to mind when I hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. I guess his family dies, so...
Doesn't turn out that well. But even Assassin's Creed 2, does that happen in 2?
Where his family dies?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like at the very beginning.
I can't remember. I played through that game, but that story never
More
stands
of his
out to me.
family dies later.
Okay.
Yeah, his family just keeps dying over and over again. They resurrect them and then kill them again.
Okay, you got to do something.
Frankenstein stuff.
I actually really think that this like captures sort of the whole game for me because it's essentially a revenge story, but it's like not overbearing or really annoying. It's sort of like elevated to like holy status. You know, it feels sort of divine, which ties into the game too.
Right.
It's one of the few games that actually tackles religion in an interesting
Literally,
way.
where you fight the Pope.
Yeah, where you fight the Pope.
Right.
Literally tackling.
Yes.
religion.
Literally tackle the Pope.
Yeah.
Wait, was that this one or was that
that's
Brotherhood?
this one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, remember? It's Ezio fights the Pope and then stands over him and he's like, I won't kill you, parentheses, even though I've killed thousands of people before this point.
Well, you can choose to kill him or not, right?
No, you
you
cannot
don't.
kill him because he dies in the next one.
No.
Spoilers, everyone.
You remember this game better than I did, even though this was my pick. But
It came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
So,
but I think it does the same thing kind of that I was talking about with your pick, Tim, where it like takes the theme and sort of layers it on top of itself a couple times
Yeah.
and repeats it. And I think it goes some interesting directions. I think the whole soundtrack is actually really good. And I used to listen to music when I worked out. And this somehow got into my iTunes playlist. And like, I didn't know it that I had put it on there. And then it's so slow, it kind of like took me out of working out because it's not a great workout song, honestly. But I didn't want to stop listening to it, so I just like kind of kept working out.
You kept it on there.
Yeah. So anyway, it's
I did
really
not
good theme.
expect that answer because it's like pretty close to the opposite of the Eye of the Tiger.
Exactly. No, it's not a good choice for working out. I'm not advocating that. I just think it's like if a song you're like, this is not a good fit for what I'm doing, and you want to keep listening to it, like that's gotta be a good
Maybe
song.
if your workout is like climbing the side of a building or something like that, which
Everyone-
would be a
that
good
would be
workout.
actually
Slower
good.
songs
if I
like
was,
this are
if
great
I
for
was
running.
in Rome,
Right.
climbing the side of the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, obviously, but super beautiful song.
Yeah.
Kind of haunting in a way, especially
Yeah.
once the vocals get in there.
It is sad.
Yeah.
I pick up on that too.
But it's also a good song to stab dudes to.
I could imagine. Yeah.
well, yeah, you gotta have something to sort of like
your-
even you out a little bit.
with your
Also in the
wrist blades.
game.
Yes. Brian, what do you have to wrap things up here for us?
Well, we mentioned this song a little bit earlier. To Xanarkin from Final Fantasy X. Pretty much a complete opposite from my first choice, which
Right.
was this happy, like just whimsical song by Koji Kondo. This is by Nobuo Uematsu. This was 2001, and it was actually I read up that this song he wrote for a friend who was doing a flute recital, and then he, on second thought, he was like, "This is a little bit too sad for
Oh wow.
or too dark or something for this flute recital." So I like the song though, so I'm gonna save it for later. And
Keep it.
He thought it was a good fit for Final Fantasy X, and I mean, I think it's the very first thing you hear in the game, and then it also comes back at a very crucial point in the story, which I think is perfect for like the tone of the song.
Awesome. Well, let's listen to Xanarkin from Final Fantasy X. So that's To Xanarkin from Final Fantasy X. An excellent choice. It's like leave it up to Uematsu to make a really simple but effective melody. And it's just basically just a piano, honestly, like it's such a turn from, I feel like, the tone of like the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy games too.
Just like that kind of like adrenaline pumping sound.
Yeah, or just even more like, you go from like the MIDI instruments of like Final Fantasy 7, and then that kind of evolved throughout, and this is just like full on like actual instruments. It sounds like an actual piano recording.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear the flute though. I don't know.
I think that I love it so much because like the first time you hear it, it's just like the intro to the game, and it's depicting a scene much later in the game, like nearing the end of the journey, and then when you have like you're like, oh, that's a pretty song, and it's a nice like lead into the chaos that's about to happen on screen, like with modern day Xanark or ancient Xanarkin. And then later on when they revisit that scene and you have full context, it's so much heavier in terms of like how much it means to like the player.
Yeah, I remember the scene late in the game. Is this play at the? It's been a while since I played the game. Does this play at the beginning when you're doing the Blitzball tournament?
No, right before that, there's the scene when they're in like Zanarkand in Ruins, like the modern Zanarkand. It shows that scene where Titus walks past Yuna, and you can tell something's going on.
Yeah.
And then, because I still can't hear this song without like hearing in my head, like, listen to my story. This may be the last chance we have, or whatever he says.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very sad song. Again, like I feel like aside from Tim, all of us picked a little bit more melancholy, like quiet songs. I don't know what that says about us, but
we're just sad,
terrible
people.
Yeah, what's with the sadness in your guys' hearts?
What's wrong with you? Why are you so happy and well-adjusted?
Because I finally got to have a music segment on the podcast. It's absolutely just a reflection of how I'm feeling. So
Hanson is going to be so mad.
I know, like angry and angst-filled.
But I thought you guys all had awesome choices. You should, those listening or watching, and listening while watching, should let us know what you thought about diving into some video game music, and if you liked these and stuff like that. Obviously, we'd love to hear from you. But that brings another Game Informer show to a close.
Sad day.
Yeah, no kidding. But thanks.
One more week.
Yeah,
we'll get another one.
That's right. Yeah, 1 week from now we'll have more. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.